gorgeous Kris Carr, crazy sexy wellness, New York Times best-selling author, motivational speaker, activist of all things wellness. Thank you for sitting down with Best Self and for inviting us into your home. And most importantly, for taking a sojourn from the Hell No train. I thought that would be a great place to start. First of all, what the heck is a Hell No train and why the hell were you on it?
Well, thanks for coming. My friend Marie Forleo is the one who coined the no train phrase. And, you know, the longer that I've been taking care of myself since my life change and since also starting a business, the more I realize there's only so many things that I can truly handle and get done. And right now I'm in a time of creative cocoon working on a book. And so I've been on what I would call a sabbatical. I think it's really important for us to get to know to get connected to our own inner rhythm. So whether it's through in life or in business, to know where our boundaries are and to know what really inspires us and keeps us fueled and passionate and healthy, and when that tipping point, where that tipping point is, that we can avoid it.
Only you could talk about poop, vodka, green juice, and activism in an acceptance speech and make it work. And I want to start by congratulating you on your recent Shorty Award, which for Best in Living, right? And that was Shorty Awards are for the best content producers of social media, and and you certainly are that, and that's a wonderful honor.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really fun. I had no idea what was going to come out of my mouth, and when vodka, poop, and fiber all came out, I was like, you know what? I've really done something
here.
Good.
I think that you are this study in contradictions. It's so funny. You know, you're equally as comfortable in your plaid shirts and your jeans, frolicking with your dogs or gardening, or then all glammed up in your killer goddess shoes on stage. And I've actually witnessed both. And I have to tell you, girl, you clean up well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you really clean up. But I think that also is such a beautiful thing about you, because you're a beautiful woman who takes the stage and then you just win everybody over because you're so authentic and they fall in love with you and you're funny and self-deprecating. And it's this beautiful way that you share your personal story that I think is so powerful and effective and really a pleasure to witness. Let's just take it back and just tell them a little bit of your background. So Valentine's Day, 12 and a half plus years ago.
Yeah.
You receive a phone call that changes the trajectory of your life.
Right. I was at my mom's house in Connecticut, and we were sitting in her little office, and I was waiting for the phone to ring, and I knew it was, you know, the oncologist's office. And it was a very challenging moment, actually, because not only was I going to get the news about my own life, but I was sitting there with my mother, and then I'd have to give her the news about my own life, this life that she'd given me. And so that was the day I was diagnosed with a very rare stage 4, incurable, no treatment, but hopefully slow growing, could become aggressive, let's watch you for the rest of your life diagnosis. And because I didn't have options to cut it out, fry it, maybe get back to the life that you weren't even that happy living, I had to do a lot of soul searching, because there were parts of my life that weren't working for me. And at 31 years old, I knew that. And so I used my diagnosis as an opportunity to get to know myself and also get to know how to take care of myself, to hopefully improve my lifespan and the quality of my life. And it's been an incredible spiritual journey for me, living with cancer for the last almost 13 years now. And I continue to learn a lot through the process. Thankfully, you know, I've always been connected to my intuition. For the most part, I'd like to ignore it, but when the shit hit the fan, I was like, well, maybe this is a good time to connect to my intuition. And I mean, you don't have to be a
intuition.
Hi,
it's Kris.
I got a question for you.
I know I haven't been around lately, but
either of these. What do you think? No, okay, great. And so I just honestly, it wasn't like I did anything really big and brave. I just kept looking for the right doctor.
I actually think that what you did was very brave, and connecting to your intuition and taking a step back and trying to look at these various protocols and make conscious choices. I mean, that was brave, because we go to the doctor, it's just like fix everything, just make it all better.
That's what we want. And I will say that I think the biggest thing that I can tell anybody going through a difficult experience with their health is to get the most information that you can.
Do you think that we have to have dramatic events in order to awaken, or to activate ourselves to our true purpose and passion and calling?
No, not at all. In fact, I think it's better that we don't. But what's interesting to me is we all have something. We all have got a struggle, and we're all suffering with something. And so it's not necessarily about, did you bottom out? Did you get to your edge? Where did you receive terrible information? Did you, overcome some terrible trauma? It's more about when you will say to yourself, I cannot manage this anymore. I will not put up with this anymore. Yeah. I must look at this and experience all of it, open to all of the pain and suffering that I'm going through. For me, I had a cancer diagnosis. For somebody else, it can be, I really want to shift this emotional experience that I'm trapped in because my life is suffering as a result of it. So when will you get to that point where you say, I've had it, I want to change?
Do you feel that you have a mission to serve?
I have a mission to wake up and be happy and to take care of myself and to teach other people how to do the same if they'd like to do that.
Right.
And I think that when you get really excited about fully living your life, service does become a part of it for many people.
Right.
Because if you're feeling good, you want to share it.
Mm-hmm.
And sharing it means you will go the extra mile to make somebody else feel better. For me, again, it just comes back to befriending yourself and learning to be with all that is and learning how to take care of yourself. And from that place, you see what happens.
Right.
But I can tell you that more often than not, it's going to be a very beautiful ripple effect that takes place.
Right. What would you say, how would you advise someone to say, okay, how to go about doing that? Or how to awaken without waiting until, what hits the fan?
Well, there's many ways you can do it. I mean, I think it's very easy to start to awaken when you change your diet, because you can really feel the difference when you stop polluting your body with fake food and processed food and sugar and whatnot, and then you have your first experience of what real energy is, what real respect for your instrument is, what vitality feels like, what sustainable energy is.
Right.
And I think that's a very easy way to awaken. And usually that door will lead you to your spiritual life.
Right.
If you want something tangible, start there. Or if you want to move from the spiritual perspective first and then ease into the lifestyle changes. For me, it's as simple as, can you be with yourself for 10 minutes? Can you truly be with yourself without scouring your to-do list, starting to tell yourself a story about yourself that isn't true, future tripping about what you need to get done and all the things that you should be but you're not yet? Can you just be with yourself? And I think that can be a huge doorway for people.
So give us an example of what would a 10-minute period of being with yourself look like for you.
For me, it would just honestly be a 10-minute meditation practice where I count my breath. Can I be in that 10 minutes, counting my breath, allowing myself to drift? When I drift, I just say thinking, and I come back to my breath, and I don't berate myself. I don't think I am never going to be a good meditator.
Think it again.
I thought I would be the best meditator of all time, and I am not. That to me is enough.
Right.
That is enough of an exercise to touch the stone inside.
How do you keep it fun? Because I know you're a very, very hard worker.
I have to be delighted. So if I can delight myself all the time, it's going to be great.
Right.
If I'm not delighted, it's not going to work out. And the people that I work with in my company know that too. If I see something and I just burst into laughter or burst into tears, and I go, oh, yes, more of that, we're going to do it.
Right.
But the second I start checking my watch or interrupting people or playing with the dogs when I'm in a Skype meeting, it's like, we're not going to do that. So if I can be delighted, then I know that the world will be delighted.
Right. Because that's authentic, and then you're passing it on, and they can feel it.
Right? It all, especially when you are your business.
Right.
That energy is felt. If you're just putting stuff out there because you think you should put stuff out there, and maybe you're seeing what everybody else is doing, or you feel as though, well, I have to keep up and I'm not posting enough content here, there, or the other place, your readers are going to feel that. And
have you ever done that? Have you felt like you put a clunker out or put something out for the wrong reason?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my greatest triumphs come because I'm willing to fail greatly. And I'm willing to spend an enormous amount of time, energy, and resources sometimes that I don't have to prove points to myself. Because I'm very stubborn and I can't learn from books. I have to learn from knee scrapes and delight. And
I love the word delight. So in terms of self-care, I mean, we now refer to you as a cancer thriver. Mm-hmm. But, in terms of your own overall wellness, do you ever fall off the green juice wagon?
Oh yeah, of course I do.
And is there anything on the naughty food list?
I love French fries. Give me a French fry right now, and interview's over. It's time for French fries.
There's not a potato I have met that I don't like.
I love potatoes. I used to be a lot stricter with myself because I was so terrified of my choices. Mm-hmm. I thought, if I eat this, I will hurt myself. Right. Because I was so tied into trying to get better and be a medical miracle, and I wanted to be cured and find a cure. Miracle. And I wanted to, I just was very intense about my own personal diet and wellness plan. And now, after 13 years of experience, I realize that there is no wagon. If you see a wagon, burn it down. Life is a path, and it's going to take you down many different roads and highways and byways. And for me, it's about creating an overall practice that I can lean on, that I can use as bumpers in my day-to-day life. And if I veer off track too much, that I can come to like a loving mother to take me back in its arms and, help me to feel better. I think that now I'm at a phase in my life where, the dietary stuff is secondary to me. It's actually not even something that I'm not interested in talking about, even though I'm about to come out with another cookbook. Right. I'm more interested in, for my own exploration, in the pursuit of pleasure and this pursuit of happiness. Right. And what that could do to help me. If this isn't happy, it doesn't matter how much green juice you have. Right. Life is not going to be anything but bitter.
Right. Bitter greens.
Bitter greens.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me some watermelon. Give me some mango.
This awakening for you obviously put you on this path where you had to be really conscious about your wellness, your overall wellness, your food intake, and how you were going to take care of yourself. And then this whole world opened up about animals. Were you an animal lover, activist prior to this? Or was this something that kind of happened?
It happened as a result. I grew up loving animals, and I grew up in a very rural place where there were no children. And I had this wonderful experience of living across the street from a dairy farm. So every day after school, I would go there and I would take care of the calves, and I would, play with the cows, and there were all these barn cats, and that was my community. Those animals were my friends. I didn't understand what happened to them, but when I was with them, I very much felt as though they were my friends. Right. And so later in life, when I became vegan and really did that for my own overall well-being, and learned more about what happens to animals in the factory farm system, and what happens to animals throughout the world, including our animal companions, I thought, I have to be a voice for these creatures, because there's nothing that drives me more crazy and will get me more riled up and pretty feisty than voicelessness.
You've been a big voice for the voiceless. And speaking of animals, we have to talk about Buddy.
Yes, Buddy, my angel.
I know, and I don't know how anybody would not know who Buddy is right now.
Buddy's a superstar on social media.
Buddy is a social... Did he go to B school?
Yeah, he did. He has his own following. It's funny, I told you this story earlier, but I was at the dog park and somebody said, "Oh my gosh, that's Buddy." And, you know, "Oh, holy cow, that's Buddy." Yeah. And then went, "Wait, aren't you?
Yeah,
what's
exactly.
your name? Who are you?"
I think I read your blog.
The one with the sexy and the crazy, right? Oh, Kris Carr,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, Buddy's,
but Buddy's here. You know,
it's that hashtag Go Buddy Go,
hashtag
right?
Go Buddy Go. So, long story short, I really wanted a second dog, but my life at the time, I spent a lot of time on the road. I was very busy, and my wonderful husband, who works with me, is often home as the caretaker. And so, for a while, there was a lot of negotiating, and I lost all the negotiations. But I can wear people down, and I did wear him down. And then finally, he was just like, "I can't take anymore. Let's get a second dog." Now I'm thrilled. I'm over the moon. This is the best day of my life. You know, I'm going to have another child. I'm thinking about the names, and, you know, maybe I'm going to throw myself a baby shower. Yeah. And we're
a buddy shower.
We're walking up the mountain, Overlook Mountain, which we both hike. And at the top of the mountain, there's this emaciated, frail, beautiful dog who's supposed to be 100 pounds. He's 50 pounds. And there's my child. And so we nursed him back to health over the course of about 6 months. And then at around that point, give or take, we started to notice some other issues that he was having. It was very touch and go. We didn't know if he was going to live. We noticed these new issues, and then turns out he was diagnosed with basically the canine version of ALS. So he's now in a wheelie cart. He's slowly going paralyzed. And, you know, one of the reasons why I'm on sabbatical right now is we are his full-time caretakers. And for a lot of people, they'd say, "Well, you're going to do that for a dog? You know, maybe you would do that for your parent, but you're going to do that for a dog." To me, all beings are worthy of that level of care and love. And so we are taking care of him for as long as we possibly can.
Right.
And talk about resilience and teaching me even more about suffering and the end of suffering and living in the moment. And, you know, Buddy makes boundaries, man. If you're pushing him a little too far, he's going to tell you. If he wants to rest, he's going to let you know. If he wants more food, he's going to tell you. And
Go Buddy Go.
Go Buddy Go, indeed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's showed me the door to a new room where more healing is.
Going into balance in terms of your work, I'm sure that everybody thinks that you have a fleet of magical unicorns running around here doing everything for you, but you are really maybe people are surprised to know this, but you are an extremely hard worker. And maybe bordering on being a workaholic.
Well, at times I have been a workaholic, and the only time I've been a workaholic is when I'm avoiding something in my life.
Right.
Because I think that there's a difference between pursuing something because you need to numb out and you're running from pain, and you're addicted to something that you're getting a hit from,
right?
And actually being in love with what you do. And when I'm in a healthy space with my work and there's more delight, I'm truly in love with what I do. But it does take those checks and balances, absolutely. You know, I have a team of 8 people who work full time with me. And so there's an enormous amount of responsibility that I have for myself and the people who I employ. And also I feel a lot of responsibility for our readers and the lives that we touch. So I take my job incredibly seriously, but I have a lot of fun with it. Folks think, let's be an entrepreneur so that I can make my own hours.
Right.
You know, if you want to have your own hours or you want to have
Get
more
a part-time
flexibility,
job.
don't be an entrepreneur,
Right.
because it really is a 24/7 full-time experience that you need to create those boundaries for yourself. And certainly if you have a personal brand, there's the who's Kris Carr,
right?
This Kris Carr, who's the wife, you know, the one
right.
who you're not serving, you know.
Exactly.
It's a complicated situation, and for a number of years I did not know how to manage it all. But the thing about my body is she's incredibly fierce, and she's also very fragile. And every time I push myself too far, I get bronchitis or pneumonia or some sort of new chronic nobody knows about condition.
Rare.
And it's like now I go down the next gauntlet of doctors.
It's those are the reminders, right?
And she will say to me over and over again, I will keep giving you challenges if you ignore me.
Right.
And that's her fierceness.
You have this incredibly hunky, creative, wonderful husband.
I do.
And you're very lucky because you create and manifest together.
Yeah.
And have built this incredible brand together in separate offices, as you always remind me.
Yeah.
Which is really like the...
Separate buildings.
Yeah, separate buildings. Okay. But that's a beautiful thing. And you work really well together. Do you keep each other in check, in balances? You help...
He definitely keeps me in balance more than I keep him in balance. I think that we have very different personalities.
This is a good thing.
Yeah, I have a very strange polar opposite because I have a very big personality and then I'm also very introverted. And I go big and then I need to retreat. And so he is actually a lot more even keel and very steady and very practical and very grounded.
Right.
And I think this is important for a lot of women. Like, we have this ideal of who we want and who our perfect mate is going to be. And mine was always like, if you're watching the series Outlander, it was that Jamie character, but dark, like swashbuckling and dark. You know what I mean? And in fact, if you weren't swashbuckling and dark, and if I couldn't save you, and if you didn't have some sort of addiction and a
dark, just
secret
totally dark
from
side.
the past,
yeah, exactly.
Then I'd be like, And so here comes Brian, the greatest guy. I wouldn't have seen him. I had to get stripped down to actually see somebody that was so incredible for me and that I could fall so deeply in love with.
What's the big dream for Kris Carr, the person, and Kris Carr, the brand?
I answer that question very differently now. And a few years ago, it would have been to tell you some big milestones. I don't do that anymore. I've done a lot of very cool things and I'm really happy with all the things that I've done, and I can set my sight on more accomplishments and I'll get them. I know I will. But I'm just not at that place right now.
Right.
And maybe I will be again in the future. I think my goals are very simple, and they are to just do the thing that's right in front of me. So my goal right now is to have an incredible conversation with you. I'm very much trying to keep myself present. That doesn't mean I'm not running my business. Doesn't mean that I'm...
Right, we know that. Right.
But I've stopped... I've let go of the grandiosity.
Well, I love what you said. The dream maybe is just to be in delight, to live in delight. This lovely, lovely, crazy sexiness, I love them.
This deck was something that was a very big thing on my vision board of delight. I wanted to work with a friend of mine named Lori Portka. She's a wonderful painter. And something that I have been working on and what that gives me great pleasure is putting out a lot of love into the world. In fact, I think my next level of activism revolves around love, because I see a lot of bullying online and I see a lot of negativity, and there's certainly more and more of it happening in all spectrums of the online and offline world. And I really move towards standing for love and care and creating that bastion of safety where people feel like they can be themselves and come out and learn how to take care of themselves, and that it's safe. And so this deck was a very big turn for me, because it is just one big hug. This is delight.
This is delight. So what'd you pick?
Okay, so this is not surprising. Your purpose is joy.
Oh.
And I'll just read this real quick. Your purpose has nothing to do with how you make a living. That is your vocation, mission, or inspired passion, all worthy, but your purpose is much simpler and bigger. Your purpose is joy. It's about discovering, nurturing, and celebrating who you truly are, and knowing and loving yourself at the deepest level.
This was divine for today, wasn't it? I love it.
Joy and delight.
I was just perusing one of your books, and you spoke about your journey from Hot Pockets to Whole Foods, which of course I feel like I can't even say Hot Pockets in the same sentence as Kris Carr. It's like a sacrilege, you know. So this awakening for you, this event, obviously you had to start thinking about your health, but it was an awakening to real food as well.
Yeah, and also to all of my addictions. So I was very addicted to food, and I was very addicted to substances. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a full-blown like alcoholic or addict or whatnot, but there wasn't a week that went by where I wasn't playing with something, you know, including cigarettes, a lot of them. But I never called myself a smoker because I never bought a pack.
You're one of those.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who just take.
Nobody's giving cigarettes now at $10 a pack.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Well, back in my day.
Back in that day.
You know.
I know. Well, back in that day, you could smoke anywhere too.
That's right. And I did. And so food really woke me up to a lot of my stuff.
To somebody that's listening to this right now, that's caught in that Habitrail, where do they start?
I am not an expert on this in any way, shape, or form. I know a lot more about cancer and working with chronic illness, but I can say that from my own perspective, that moment when I realized that I am impermanent, that I am going to die, and that I probably know what it's going to be from. I'm just not sure when it's going to happen, but I think I know how it's going to happen. All of that made me get really clear on wanting to live.
Right.
And that there was so much of life that I hadn't experienced, and I was wasting my life. I was wasting my thoughts. I was wasting my potential. I was wasting my humor, my joy, my delight, my passion, my smarts. I was wasting it all.
Right.
And
focused on
that and all that went with it. And that's when I went to a monastery and I spent a summer learning to meditate and to get in touch with myself and to start to learn how to befriend myself, accept myself, be kind to myself, and love myself. And it can sound really cliche, but unless you have had that experience or you decide today is the last day that I'm going to be vicious to myself.
You are now considered, you know, a go-to when someone is diagnosed with cancer. I mean, you've kind of forged a blueprint for other people. And it's not necessarily advising people on a protocol, let's say Eastern versus Western, but it is about activating their conscious choices.
It's very odd because I've never had any treatment, right? So I think that you hit the nail on the head, so to speak, it's really about becoming conscious about your choices. And for me, what I always say to everybody is like, there is no East or West. We want to create a bridge. And I think that we want to create a dialogue between two sometimes warring factions, which is, you know, the integrative, functional, somewhat, some people call alternative camp.
Or woo-woo.
Or woo camp. And then the doctors and the scientists in the Western camp. We all just need to work together for survival.
Right.
And
figure out which protocol works for you.
Yeah. And no matter what that protocol is, whether it's chemo and radiation and whatever it is, I think that it's important to teach people about their own potential, their own ability to meet their doctor halfway, because you're going to go to the doctor. And this isn't just about cancer, which is ultimately why I think it's been very fun for me to see the level of expansion of my community to not just include cancer patients and people who are interested in just feeling good, and, you know, or like, how can I look good in a bikini? Let me ask Kriss. Like, what? I wouldn't have thought that those people would be coming to me.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that we forget how much power we have to, as I said a moment ago, meet our doctor. So in the case of somebody who's living with a chronic condition, sometimes what happens is you go to the doctor, they tell you to do a couple of things, then they send you home, and you have a much bigger life.
Right.
You know,
it's built all around that.
Absolutely. It's not just that one little pill that you take every single day. It's this holistic, integrated life. So what about your stress? What about, you know, the shit that's going on in your marriage? What about the fact that you've got serious insomnia? Like, you are a full Technicolor instrument. And the last piece I want to say, because I want people to make sure they hear this, is I'm not getting overwhelmed by it all. what I don't want to do is say like, okay, now here's your new to-do list.
Right.
Wellness, you know?
Right.
Like,
And this is what it looks like.
More and more to do. So how can we explore these things without getting completely overwhelmed?
Right. That's a really good
That's
point.
what's very important.
If you were to go back to that younger Kris who was sitting in her mom's office waiting for that phone call, would you say something to her now? Do you have something to tell her?
Well, I would tell her that I love her and that I'll be here with her no matter what happens. I would tell her it's going to be okay. But it wouldn't matter. Because she wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
And I think that that's life, you know. We have to go through these experiences. And when we go through them, if we can just do it with as much love and fire and grace and willingness to feel it all, like I'm feeling right now, that's when we're going to grow. Everything that I've been through, I needed to go through. And like you asked me at the top, does everybody have to go there? No, I don't think we all have to go down to the bottom. But whatever your experience is right now, whatever is making you feel a little lump in your throat, maybe when you're watching this exchange of emotion between us, that's the thing that you want to put some energy and light and love on.
That's the delight.
That's the,
like the
that's
sweetness
the thing that will bring you delight.
Right.
So I would tell her that I love her and tell her no matter what she has to go through on her own, because she has to have her own experience, I'll be here.
Yeah. And so do you think that now you could take a sort of a Zen approach that all is as it's meant to be, or we are where we're supposed to be, and that perhaps these life events are markers for soul lessons?
Oh, they're definitely soul lessons. You know, I don't know about meant to be, but it is what it is.
Right.
I'm very practical. It is what it is. So now what can we do, and how can we find the beauty in it, and how can we accept the tragedy in it and really be with it? Because I think that that's truly, those are the conversations that I'm most interested in having. In addition to, you know, making people laugh and making them feel good about life and, you know, themselves, I'm interested in the deeper conversations. Right. And that's certainly a big one.
I also loved when you said at I Can Do It in New York last year, I'm paraphrasing this, but you said that cancer taught you how to live.
Yeah.
There was a turning point, a moment when you decided to no longer sidetrack your dreams and life in pursuit of a cure. It was time to live.
Yep.
And maybe living life in all of its messiness is the cure.
I think that's a very beautiful, beautiful way to put it.
Do you want to leave us with a crazy, sexy wish for the world?
Oh, let's see. Can you be nicer to yourself today than you were yesterday? That's
That is
it.
such a great place to start.
Yeah. And from that place, everybody's going to feel it.
Yeah.
You know, all of the choices that we make affect somebody else.
Absolutely.
And when we are rageful inside and we feel like there's a war going on inside, there will be a war outside.
Right.
And so can you be a little nicer to yourself today than you were yesterday?
Thank you, Kris.
Mm-hmm.
It's so lovely to be here. And you are all things crazy sexy. Yay! Aww, you are a love.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.